Hi, my name is Jack. I wanted to talk for a second about a diagnosis I had about 3 years ago, coming up on 3 years, of stage 3 cancer of the esophagus. I thought this might be helpful to somebody that might be facing this, what my experience has been. I've been pretty fortunate that we apparently caught this pretty early. The cancer that was in my esophagus hadn't penetrated the lining, so it was isolated. And after going through chemo and radiation, and then an esophagectomy, where they removed most of my esophagus, and then I guess they cut my stomach basically in half and reattached it much higher and kind of formed it into a tube. And just what I've experienced going through this process. I may not be able to touch on all of the items that you might have a question about, but if you do have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'll answer them any way I can. As I said, it's been a very fortunate experience for me that we caught it so early because the diagnosis or the prognosis is not very good for esophageal cancer, as you probably know if you're dealing with it. But I guess catching it early makes all the difference in the world. And as I said, we caught mine before it had gone through the lining. And actually, when they did the esophagectomy and removed my esophagus, they removed, I think, 11 or 12 lymph nodes, and they were all clean. So as of last week, I had my almost 3-year PET scan, and I'm completely clear of cancer. So I've been very lucky. But so I think the key to it was catching it early, and I was just lucky that I was able to catch it early. Basically, I just had noticed some sensations of food entering my stomach. I'd never experienced that sensation before, and it just felt a little strange. And the fact that my dad had died of cancer, the same cancer, at age 47, he was a heavy smoker and a heavy drinker, and I'm not. So I didn't think I had anything to worry about with this. But when I started feeling something, I thought, well, maybe I better go in and get it checked out. And sure enough, there was a mass in my esophagus. So, as I said, we went through the process of doing the chemo and the radiation, and then when we eventually did the esophagectomy, everything looks pretty good at this point, and we're just doing follow-up PET scans to see if anything returns, because as the oncologist said, it can always come back in other places. Fortunately, it hasn't. But I think that probably one of the questions that a lot of people might have would be the question of the esophagectomy, because it's a pretty radical surgery, in my opinion. But it was kind of crazy. They did it with robotics. So basically, through a 2-inch incision in my back between my ribs, and I don't know, 4 or 5 entry points through my abdomen where they entered, I guess, the arms of the robot. They were able to cut my stomach in half, remove my esophagus, and reattach my stomach to my whatever is left of the esophagus, all with a robot. And I guess the surgery lasted about 14 hours that I was on the table. And it was pretty traumatic coming out of it, with all the tubes coming out of me, and it was kind of hard to deal with at that point. But after getting the news that all the lymph nodes were clear and cancer-free, it definitely improved my attitude. I realized at that point that there's a good chance I might be able to survive this. So as I healed, I had a some pretty substantial changes in my diet, being on a feeding tube for quite a while. And then after a month or so, I guess it was, I was able to come off the feeding tube and start some soft foods and the whole process of trying to figure out what's normal. So, along with dealing with a stomach that's half the size and not being able to eat nearly as much, and I lost about 70 pounds. And then the other part of it was changing. And now my stomach doesn't have a sphincter at the top of it, a sphincter valve. So now I have to sleep at a 30-degree angle, and also try not to eat very late. Avoid spicy foods late. I can eat spicy foods during the day earlier. And then also a big change was this dumping syndrome that I was not aware of. When you can't get too much sugar in your system without any thing in your stomach, I guess even sweetener in my coffee would cause me, it just blows through into your small intestine and cause severe pain. And I mean pain like, you want to go to the hospital. It hurts so bad. I figured out a couple of ways of dealing with it. One is try not to let it happen, try not to get any sugar in my system. But sometimes I would forget or not have enough food in my stomach before I had something a little bit sweet. And then it would start hitting me. And as soon as I feel it starting to come on, I take a couple of Tylenol immediately and literally just watch the clock for 15 minutes or so before the Tylenol would stop the pain. But then you still got to deal with the after effects of the dumping syndrome, which is diarrhea and completely blows your bowels out. So it's something you don't want to have to deal with. So you definitely have to watch the sugar intake. Although, like I said, after I've eaten meals during the day and don't seem to have any problem having a limited amount of sweets in the evening after, like I said, I've got food in my stomach. And then sleeping has been a real challenge to get used to. Sleeping on my back, I've always been a side sleeper. So now I'm sleeping on my back with, at a 30-degree angle and not really being able to roll from side to side. That was a real challenge. And then the other thing that I was having to deal with after the surgery was I was having a lot of nausea, and I couldn't get the nausea to go away. And I didn't have much nausea with chemo, but some. The medicines they were giving me, the anti-nausea medicines, were doing fine, and they seemed to work. And so I didn't really have a problem. But after the surgery, I was trying to take the same nausea medicine, and it wouldn't go away. I couldn't get the nausea to stop. And I was losing weight and not able to keep any food down. And it was starting to get kind of scary because it's, my doctor said, we just don't want you to lose any more weight. We've gotten down to about 185 pounds. And, I'm 6'3", 6'4". That's not much weight. So I kind of took drastic measures to talk with my doctor and eventually got him they prescribed a psychotic drug that had been retasked as a nausea drug. And I started taking that, and I don't have the name of it right in front of me right now. I can follow up with that, but the point is it worked, and it solved the problem, and I was able to eat and put a little bit of weight back on, and I continued to take that nausea drug for I probably took it close to 3/4 of the year. I didn't think that it was any big deal. I thought it was just keeping the nausea down, and I thought it was fine. Well, I didn't want to be on the drug forever, obviously, so I started to wean myself off of it, and reading more about it was kind of scary. because it threw me into not being able to sleep at all. And because I guess the drug actually caused me to want to sleep. And it was really great at first because I would sleep 13, 14 hours a day and just great sleep. Well, there's some repercussions to that. When I stopped it, the sleep went away, and insomnia ensued, and I would go weeks without being able to sleep hardly at all. I just lay in bed, my eyes closed all night long, and it was just absolutely miserable. I tried to get my doctor to give me some drugs to help with the sleep, and he didn't want to get me hooked on a sleeping drug, so he was giving me a lot of drugs like Ambien and things that were pretty lightweight sleeping drugs, and they weren't working at all. And I couldn't, and any success I had would only work like one night and give me a little bit of sleep. So it just really wasn't working, and I had to get some sleep. I didn't know what to do. So finally, he sent me over to a psychiatrist, and the first thing the psychiatrist said is, you can't go that long without sleeping. We've got to get you to sleep. And he prescribed some heavy narcotics, and we actually think we had three different narcotics that I would take some one night, and then the next night a different one, and the next night a different, because you just can't take the same one or they won't work. So I would try and go to sleep at night, lay there, try and get some sleep, and maybe 12 or 1 or 2 in the morning, I'd give up and then take the drug, and it would put me to sleep. I'd get a little bit of sleep, a little bit of rest. Well, this went on for a month and a half, and eventually I was able to get a little bit more sleep and a little bit more sleep, and I weaned myself off the drug. And eventually I got completely off of the sleeping pills, really working at it, and but it was very difficult. And then even after I got off the sleeping drugs, it would come back, and then maybe a week or two, I would have a relapse and have to take the drugs for a couple of nights, and then it would go away. Now this went on for months, and eventually I've gotten to the point now where it's been a year now, and I never have to take the drugs, almost never. Once in a great while, it's a different kind of insomnia. It's not like going to bed and not just being able to sleep. It's I don't even know how to describe it. It's when you go to bed, and have this drug-induced insomnia. Um, it's like there's no chance you're going to sleep. You just know you're just going to lay there, and psychologically, it probably affects you and keeps you from sleeping as well. So I probably had to take some of the drugs maybe once or twice in the last couple of months, just for 1 or 2 nights, and then it went away, and I got back to a normal sleeping trend. So that's been good. Now, as far as the eating has been concerned, everything has been getting back to a normal, just very, very small meals. My wife and I can only share one meal, and usually we have leftovers. I mean, the meal size, I might be able to eat at first I couldn't even eat a cheeseburger from McDonald's or something like that. I could eat maybe half of one and some fries, and I was full. But in a very short period of time, I was hungry again. That's what they had told me. I was going to have to eat more often, smaller meals more often, and that's really been the case. I'm always hungry, but I'm always full. As soon as I eat something, I immediately get full, and then within a couple of hours, within an hour, I actually start to get hungry again. So that's been very strange. But the weird part is I don't put any weight on. It seems like I'm full all the time, but I don't seem to be putting any weight on. Obviously, it has something to do with the exercise and stuff that I get, but that's been kind of strange. So I don't know what else I can say about the procedure, um, the sleeping. I have a pretty mild bout with cancer as esophageal cancer goes. I know a lot of people are probably dealing with a much more difficult situation if you've caught the cancer at a later stage. And I probably can't be of help to that, but giving you this information, I know I saw some information from people that had the surgeries before I had mine, and I was very concerned about, how I was going to deal with it, and it helped some. But after we're coming up on 3 years from the surgery, I can say that things are going pretty well. I'm getting used to sleeping, sitting up kind of on a 30-degree angle. I'm getting used to the pattern of eating. I've gotten used to how to deal with avoiding the dumping syndrome, and now I'm just in a holding pattern, just to wait and see if the cancer is ever going to come back, and hopefully it won't. But we've been doing PET scans I think every 3 or 4 months now, and I think we've done our last one. The last couple were 6 months, and I think they're going to change them to once a year after this last one. Um, um, so at this point, it's just a matter of wait and see how everything goes. And so that's about all I've got to say about it. If you've got any questions that I can help you with, feel free to contact me. Thanks.